infrastructure. What are the different tiers of apps that have been provided? So you start out with your tier 2 apps, moving some guests on there. You have a 1 to 10 ratio, 1 ESX server to 10 guests, and you start to move up. You've dabbled in having a storage network and storage arrays and doing some storage consolidation. Maybe this was your impetus to going down that route. To have Nexus come in and help you understand, okay, what is the best way, the most manageable way to deploy this SAN. Then as you start to move into that phase 2, really looking at more apps, more ESX servers. Again, you get that, those expectations of the end users, those people who own the applications that sit on those servers starts to change, and getting a better understanding of, okay, this is really what's going on, and these are the pieces that are connected together. So understanding, okay, I have all of these guests sitting on this storage. How do they play nicely together? How many more can I deploy here? How much gas is left in my servers? How much gas is left in my storage? And oh, by the way, I still have this variety of physical applications that are still connected back into that SAN. And how do I know if they're interacting or playing nicely in that shared infrastructure? And now, as you start to move into that phase 3, bringing tier 1 apps into your virtualized infrastructure, or maybe you start to move, as Keith was discussing, as many of the Nexus customers are, into the VDI, or virtual desktop infrastructure space, when you start to bring people's desktops into this virtualized environment. Why is that important? Because a desktop is an end user, and the end user has a phone. That phone is connected to your boss. How do you know that that person is happy? Well, you find out very, very quickly if they're unhappy. So understanding that complexity as you start to go down here and really having that insurance policy to understand, okay, these are where the connections are, this is how much is utilized, and this is the service level that I can provide out becomes extremely important. The Tenasia Group has a great write-up on this as well, where they had come up kind of with this evolving infrastructure model that kind of fits where we see in the 3 phases. When you look at it, it's really the increased contention for virtual resources, storage I/O, and storage capacity. How many gigabytes of memory do I need? How many gigahertz of CPU do I need? Do I need to upgrade my virtual infrastructure? Do I need to take a look at the new processors that are coming out from AMD and Intel? How do I understand how much storage I/O each application is doing? Do I know before I deploy, or is it a deploy and pray that I've now not maxed out my I/O bandwidth to the back-end storage? And as always, how do I know who's consuming that gigabytes of storage, those terabytes of storage in the back-end arrays, and how do I map that back so I get a better understanding of what's going on? So really, virtually invisible is really talking about the fact that right now, today, as you start to move through this, it's the lack of instrumentation. So limited performance data when you're doing the P2V conversions. You get a snapshot, be it using VMware's converter or using one of the other third-party tools that are out there. Really, you're getting a best guess and making major assumptions, especially on the storage capacity and I/O headroom. Really, if you took this and you did have all the data, you'd have reams and reams of spreadsheets to go through and try to manually understand, okay, these are the metrics, this is how it makes sense. Really, limiting the value of virtualization, we've seen a lot of people stall at phase 2 without understanding, okay, how over-provisioned am I in my virtual environment? How do I was able to justify it on the initial ROI. Well, how do I now justify the upgrading of those ESX servers to larger gigabytes of memory and larger or quicker CPU times? Looking at the hidden resources or bottlenecks, how do I understand what's going to sap the time of my IT folks? Who's going to be chasing whose tail? Where am I going to be looking for and locking down service levels? And how do I know what was the performance on the physical before it became a virtual? So that I understand, okay, I really don't want a lot of migration happening. I want a very steady state understanding, be able to leverage the stuff that Keith was talking about with the DR services that are innate in virtualization, and really getting back to an understanding, okay, this is very complicated. How do I understand all of these different things are playing? Are they playing well together? Are my servers and my desktops playing well together? What tiers? Do I start to tier my servers? Do I tier my storage? Who can live on SATA? Who can live on fiber channel? Do I need to go to some of the more advanced solid-state disks to provide those service levels? Really getting a better understanding of what's going on across there takes that whole virtual infrastructure management, VIM, as we put it, really looking at and breaking down the traditional management strategies. Virtualization really does not easily integrate in with the MOMs, the SCOMs, the HP OpenViews, and things of that nature that we've been traditionally using from a NOC perspective. One of the reasons Nexus has selected us is that we do take that to the next level. We're really a virtualization-first company where we were designed for this virtualization infrastructure, both on the server side and on the storage side. So taking out what that troubleshooting pain used to be if it takes longer, I have to go to multiple systems and understand what's going on, and adding in capacity planning, making it more reliable, because currently using the current set of metrics that are out there, it's really less reliable. How do I know a snapshot in time, or I'm looking at the server? Am I looking at the guest? Am I looking at the underlying ESX server? What's being consumed by the guest? What does it think it's consuming? And how hard is it making that infrastructure work? So get a better understanding of all these moving parts and understand more of the configuration mistakes or contention points that are there. Also, traditional operational silos. Really, VMware and virtualization breaks down those traditional silos and really helps you understand and get a neutral third-party view of what's going on. You need to have that third-party view and understand, okay, this is how things are connected together. Otherwise, the coordination among different teams, the server team, the VM team, the storage team, the network team, the OS team, the desktop team, who is it? Who is the one? Traditionally, it's been the best person, the person with the nicest spreadsheet who shows up to the 8-hour meeting and where everybody's whiteboarding how everything looks together. Really, you need to get a handle across these silos with that cross-domain technology. So looking at the virtual infrastructure optimization space, you kind of break it down into two sets of tools that are out there. Really, it's the application performance management tools. This is the Wileys that's now part of CA. This is the Beehive that's now actually AppSpeed provided by VMware. And you have a number of other ones out there traditionally providing pretty strong server to end user experience and understanding. I think you'll see that VMware and Microsoft and others will come out with some pretty instrumented pieces within here to help you understand from an element or fault management perspective what's going on right now, and now, and now, and the next second, and the next minute, and helping you understand, okay, over time, this is what it's looked like today. Where you start to look at it and where we play from an Acori perspective is really more in the virtual infrastructure optimization space or the back end. We look at infrastructure as being that server, that virtual machine, all the way through to the spindle in the back end. Really looking at and spelling out what is that infrastructure response time, what virtual resources do you need to focus on. There's some great event management, fault management already in place in here. You have your virtual centers, you have your Microsoft virtual machine monitoring systems, part of SCOM and things of that nature. When you look at it, there's a lot of event fault management out there. That's the easy thing, knowing it's up or down or it's gone sideways or a process is running nutty. What we're looking at is, okay, how much more gas? Who gets busy at what point in the day? How do I know that if I put these 5 applications on that ESX server, I'm not going to overwhelm it? Or how do I know if they're sharing those spindles that in the back end that the fiber channel RAID 5 is going to be fine? Understanding, hey, no, maybe I can get away with SATA for this document management system because it's heavy read and it's once a day. Or these web servers really do no I/O, and I can pack 60 of them on an ESX server. Getting better understanding of that infrastructure